chapters 8 through 14 of Leviticus, from the Young's Literal Translation of the Bible. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Mark Penfold. The Book of Leviticus, from the Young's Literal Translation. Chapter 8. And Jehovah speaketh unto Moses, saying, Take Aaron and his sons with him, and the garments, and the anointing oil, and the bullock of the sin offering, and the 2 rams, and the basket of unleavened things, and all the company assemble thou unto the opening of the tent of meeting. And Moses doth as Jehovah hath commanded him, and the company is assembled unto the opening of the tent of meeting. And Moses saith unto the company, This is the thing which Jehovah hath commanded to do. And Moses bringeth near Aaron and his sons, and doth bathe them with water, and doth put on him the coat, and doth gird him with the girdle, and doth clothe him with the upper robe, and doth put on him the ephod, and doth gird him with the girdle of the ephod, and doth bind it to him with it, and doth put on him the breastplate, and doth put unto the breastplate the lights and the perfections, and doth put the mitre on his head, and doth put on the mitre over against its front the golden flower of the holy crown, as Jehovah hath commanded Moses. And Moses taketh the anointing oil, and anointeth the tabernacle, and all that is in it, and sanctifieth them. And he sprinkleth of it on the altar 7 times, and anointeth the altar and all its vessels, and the laver and its base, to sanctify them. And he poureth of the anointing oil on the head of Aaron, and anointeth him to sanctify him. And Moses bringeth near the sons of Aaron, and doth clothe them with coats, and girdeth them with girdles, and bindeth for them turbans, as Jehovah hath commanded Moses. And he bringeth nigh the bullock of the sin offering, and Aaron layeth, his sons also, their heads on the head of the bullock of the sin offering, and one slaughtereth, and Moses taketh the blood, and putteth on the horns of the altar round about with his finger, and cleanseth the altar, and the blood he hath poured out at the foundation of the altar, and sanctifieth it, to make atonement upon it. And he taketh all the fat that is on the inwards, and the redundance above the liver, and the 2 kidneys and their fat, and Moses maketh perfume on the altar, and the bullock, and its skin, and its flesh, and its dung, he hath burnt with fire, at the outside of the camp, as Jehovah hath commanded Moses. And he bringeth near the ram of the burnt offering, and Aaron and his sons lay their hands on the head of the ram, and one slaughtereth, and Moses sprinkleth the blood on the altar round about. And the ram he hath cut into its pieces, and Moses maketh perfume with the head, and the pieces, and the fat, and the inwards, and the legs he hath washed with water. And Moses maketh perfume with the whole ram on the altar. It is a burnt offering for sweet fragrance. It is a fire offering to Jehovah, as Jehovah hath commanded Moses. And he bringeth near the 2d ram, a ram of the consecrations. And Aaron and his sons lay their hands on the head of the ram, and one slaughtereth, and Moses taketh of its blood, and putteth on the tip of the right ear of Aaron, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the great toe of his right foot. And he bringeth near the sons of Aaron, and Moses putteth of the blood on the tip of their right ear, and on the thumb of their right hand, and on the great toe of their right foot. And Moses sprinkleth the blood on the altar round about, and taketh the fat, and the fat tail, and all the fat that is on the inwards, and the redundance above the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and their fat, and the right leg. And out of the basket of unleavened things, which is before Jehovah, he hath taken 1 unleavened cake, and 1 cake of oiled bread, and 1 thin cake, and putteth them on the fat, and on the right leg, and putteth the whole on the hands of Aaron, and on the hands of his sons, and waveth them, a wave offering before Jehovah. And Moses taketh them from off their hands, and maketh perfume on the altar, on the burnt offering. They are consecrations for sweet fragrance. It is a fire offering to Jehovah. And Moses taketh the breast, and waveth it, a wave offering before Jehovah. Of the ram of the consecrations it hath been to Moses for a portion, as Jehovah hath commanded Moses. And Moses taketh of the anointing oil, and of the blood which is on the altar, and sprinkleth on Aaron, on his garments, and on his sons, and on the garments of his sons with him, and he sanctifieth Aaron, his garments, and his sons, and the garments of his sons with him. And Moses saith unto Aaron and unto his sons, Boil ye the flesh at the opening of the tent of meeting, and there ye do eat it, and the bread which is in the basket of the consecrations, as I have commanded, saying, Aaron and his sons do eat it. And the remnant of the flesh and of the bread with fire ye burn. And from the opening of the tent of meeting ye go not out 7 days, till the day of the fullness, the days of your consecration. For 7 days he doth consecrate your hand, as he hath done on this day, Jehovah hath commanded to do, to make atonement for you. And at the opening of the tent of meeting ye abide, by day and by night, 7 days. And ye have kept the charge of Jehovah, and die not, for so I have been commanded. And Aaron doth, his sons also, all the things which Jehovah hath commanded by the hand of Moses. Chapter 9. And it cometh to pass on the 8th day, Moses hath called for Aaron and for his sons, and for the elders of Israel. And he saith unto Aaron, Take to thyself a calf, a son of the herd, for a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering, perfect ones, and bring near before Jehovah. And unto the sons of Israel thou dost speak, saying, Take ye a kid of the goats for a sin offering, and a calf, and a lamb, sons of a year, perfect ones, for a burnt offering, and a bullock and a ram for peace offerings, to sacrifice before Jehovah, and a present mixed with oil, for today Jehovah hath appeared unto you. And they take that which Moses hath commanded unto the front of the tent of meeting, and all the company draw near and stand before Jehovah. And Moses saith, This is the thing which Jehovah hath commanded. Do it, and the honor of Jehovah doth appear unto you. And Moses saith unto Aaron, Draw near unto the altar, and make thy sin offering, and thy burnt offering, and make atonement for thyself and for the people, and make the offering of the people, and make atonement for them, as Jehovah hath commanded. And Aaron draweth near unto the altar, and slaughtereth the calf of the sin offering which is for himself. And the sons of Aaron bring the blood near unto him, and he dippeth his finger in the blood, and putteth it on the horns of the altar. And the blood he hath poured out at the foundation of the altar. And the fat, and the kidneys, and the redundance of the liver, of the sin offering, he hath made a perfume on the altar, as Jehovah hath commanded Moses. And the flesh and the skin he hath burnt with fire at the outside of the camp. And he slaughtereth the burnt offering, and the sons of Aaron have presented unto him the blood, and he sprinkleth it on the altar round about. And the burnt offering they have presented unto him by its pieces, and the head, and he maketh perfume on the altar. And he washeth the inwards and the legs, and maketh perfume for the burnt offering on the altar. And he bringeth near the offering of the people, and taketh the goat of the sin offering which is for the people, and slaughtered it, and maketh it a sin offering, like the first. And he bringeth near the burnt offering, and maketh it according to the ordinance. And he bringeth near the present, and filleth his palm with it, and maketh perfume on the altar, apart from the burnt offering of the morning. And he slaughtereth the bullock and the ram, a sacrifice of the peace offerings, which are for the people, and sons of Aaron present the blood unto him, and he sprinkleth it on the altar round about. And the fat of the bullock and of the ram, the fat tail and the covering of the inwards, and the kidneys and the redundance above the liver. And they set the fat on the breasts, and he maketh perfume with the fat on the altar. And the breasts and the right leg hath Aaron waved, a wave offering before Jehovah, as he hath commanded Moses. And Aaron lifteth up his hand towards the people, and blesseth them, and cometh down from making the sin offering, and the burnt offering, and the peace offerings. And Moses goeth in, Aaron also, unto the tent of meeting, and they come out and bless the people. And the honor of Jehovah appeareth unto all the people. And fire cometh out from before Jehovah, and consumeth on the altar the burnt offering, and the fat. And all the people see and cry aloud, and fall on their faces. Chapter 10. And the sons of Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, take each his censer, and put in them fire, and put on it perfume, and bring near before Jehovah strange fire, which he hath not commanded them. And fire goeth out from before Jehovah, and consumeth them, and they die before Jehovah. And Moses saith unto Aaron, It is that which Jehovah hath spoken, saying, By those drawing near to me I am sanctified, and in the face of all the people I am honored. And Aaron is silent. And Moses calleth unto Mishael and unto Elzaphan, sons of Uzziel, uncle of Aaron, and saith unto them, Come near, bear your brethren from the front of the sanctuary unto the outside of the camp. And they come near, and bear them in their coats unto the outside of the camp, as Moses hath spoken. And Moses saith unto Aaron, and to Eleazar, and to Ithamar his sons, Your heads ye do not uncover, and your garments ye do not rend, that ye die not, and on all the company he be wroth. As to your brethren, the whole house of Israel, they bewail the burning which Jehovah hath kindled, and from the opening of the tent of meeting ye do not go out, lest ye die, for the anointing oil of Jehovah is upon you. And they do according to the word of Moses. And Jehovah speaketh unto Aaron, saying, Wine and strong drink thou dost not drink, thou and thy sons with thee, in your going in unto the tent of meeting, and ye die not, a statute age-during to your generations, so as to make a separation between the holy and the common, and between the unclean and the pure, and to teach the sons of Israel all the statutes which Jehovah hath spoken unto them by the hand of Moses. And Moses speaketh unto Aaron, and unto Eleazar, and unto Ithamar his sons who are left, Take ye the present that is left from the fire offerings of Jehovah, and eat it unleavened near the altar, for it is most holy. And ye have eaten it in the holy place, for it is thy portion, and the portion of thy sons from the fire offerings of Jehovah, for so I have been commanded. And the breast of the wave offering, and the leg of the heave offering ye do eat in a clean place, thou and thy sons and thy daughters with thee, for thy portion and the portion of thy sons they have been given out of the sacrifices of peace offerings of the sons of Israel. The leg of the heave offering, and breast of the wave offering, besides fire offerings of the fat they do bring in to wave a wave offering before Jehovah. And it hath been to thee and to thy sons with thee, by a statute age-during, as Jehovah hath commanded. And the goat of the sin offering hath Moses diligently sought, and lo, it is burnt, and he is wroth against Eleazar and against Ithamar, sons of Aaron, who are left, saying, Wherefore have ye not eaten the sin offering in the holy place? For it is most holy, and it he hath given to you to take away the iniquity of the company, to make atonement for them before Jehovah. Lo, its blood hath not been brought in unto the holy place within. Eating ye do eat it in the holy place, as I have commanded. And Aaron speaketh unto Moses, Lo, today they have brought near their sin offering and their burnt offering before Jehovah, and things like these meet me. Yet I have eaten a sin offering today. Is it good in the eyes of Jehovah? And Moses hearkeneth, and it is good in his eyes. Chapter 11. And Jehovah speaketh unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the sons of Israel, saying, This is the beast which ye do eat out of all the beasts which are on the earth. Any dividing a hoof, and cleaving the clefts of the hoof, bringing up the cud among the beasts, it ye do eat. Only this ye do not eat, of those bringing up the cud, and of those dividing the hoof. The camel, though it is bringing up the cud, yet the hoof not dividing, it is unclean to you. And the rabbit, though it is bringing up the cud, yet the hoof it divideth not, unclean it is to you. And the hare, though it is bringing up the cud, yet the hoof hath not divided, unclean it is to you. And the sow, though it is dividing the hoof, and cleaving the cleft of the hoof, yet the cud it bringeth not up, unclean it is to you. Of their flesh ye do not eat, and against their carcass ye do not come, unclean they are to you. This ye do eat of all which are in the waters. Any one that hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas and in the brooks, them ye do eat. And any one that hath not fins and scales in the seas and in the brooks, of any teeming creature of the waters, and of any creature which liveth, which is in the waters, an abomination they are to you. Yea, an abomination they are to you. Of their flesh ye do not eat, and their carcass ye abominate. Any one that hath not fins and scales in the waters, an abomination it is to you. And these ye do abominate of the fowl, they are not eaten, an abomination they are. The eagle, and the ossifrage, and the osprey, and the vulture, and the kite after its kind, every raven after its kind, and the owl, and the nighthawk, and the cuckoo, and the hawk after its kind, and the little owl, and the cormorant, and the great owl, and the swan, and the pelican, and the gyre eagle, and the stork, the heron after its kind, and the lapwing, and the bat. Every teeming creature which is flying, which is going on four, an abomination it is to you. Only this ye do eat of any teeming thing which is flying, which is going on four, which hath legs above its feet to move with them on the earth. These of them ye do eat. The locust after its kind, and the bald locust after its kind, and the beetle after its kind, and the grasshopper after its kind, and every teeming thing which is flying, which hath 4 feet, an abomination it is to you. And by these ye are made unclean. Any one who is coming against their carcass is unclean till the evening, and any one who is lifting up aught of their carcass doth wash his garments, and hath been unclean till the evening. Even every beast which is dividing the hoof, and is not cloven-footed, and the cud is not bringing up, unclean they are to you. Any one who is coming against them is unclean. And any one going on its paws among all the beasts which are going on 4, unclean they are to you. Any one who is coming against their carcass is unclean until the evening. And he who is lifting up their carcass doth wash his garments, and hath been unclean until the evening. Unclean they are to you. And this is to you the unclean among the teeming things which are teeming on the earth: the weasel, and the mouse, and the tortoise after its kind, and the ferret, and the chameleon, and the lizard, and the snail, and the mole. These are the unclean to you among all which are teeming. Any one who is coming against them in their death is unclean till the evening. And anything on which any one of them falleth in their death is unclean, of any vessel of wood or garment or skin or sack. Any vessel in which work is done is brought into water, and hath been unclean till the evening. Then it hath been clean. And any earthen vessel, into the midst of which any one of them falleth, all that is in its midst is unclean, and it ye do break. Of all the food which is eaten, that on which cometh such water is unclean, and all drink which is drunk in any such vessel is unclean, and anything on which any of their carcass falleth is unclean, oven or double pots. It is broken down, unclean they are, yea, unclean they are to you. Only a fountain or pit, a collection of water, is clean, but that which is coming against their carcass is unclean. And when any of their carcass falleth on any sown seed which is sown, it is clean. And when water is put on the seed, and any of its carcass hath fallen on it, unclean it is to you. And when any of the beasts which are to you for food dieth, he who is coming against its carcass is unclean till the evening. And he who is eating of its carcass doth wash his garments, and hath been unclean till the evening. And he who is lifting up its carcass doth wash his garments, and hath been unclean till the evening. And every teeming thing which is teeming on the earth is an abomination; it is not eaten. Anything going on the belly, and any going on 4, unto every multiplier of feet, to every teeming thing which is teeming on the earth, ye do not eat them, for they are an abomination. Ye do not make yourselves abominable with any teeming thing which is teeming, nor do ye make yourselves unclean with them, so that ye have been unclean thereby. For I am Jehovah your God, and ye have sanctified yourselves, and ye have been holy, for I am holy. And ye do not defile your persons with any teeming thing which is creeping on the earth. For I am Jehovah, who am bringing you up out of the land of Egypt to become your God, and ye have been holy, for I am holy. This is a law of the beasts, and of the fowl, and of every living creature which is moving in the waters, and of every creature which is teeming on the earth, to make separation between the unclean and the pure, and between the beast that is eaten and the beast that is not eaten. Chapter 12. And Jehovah speaketh unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the sons of Israel, saying, A woman, when she giveth seed, and hath borne a male, then she hath been unclean 7 days, according to the days of separation for her sickness she is unclean. And in the 8th day is the flesh of his foreskin circumcised. And 33 days she doth abide in the blood of her cleansing. Against any holy thing she doth not come, and unto the sanctuary she doth not go in, till the fullness of the days of her cleansing. And if a female she bear, then she hath been unclean 2 weeks, as in her separation. And 66 days she doth abide for the blood of her cleansing. And in the fullness of the days of her cleansing for son or for daughter, she doth bring in a lamb, a son of a year, for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering, unto the opening of the tent of meeting, unto the priest. And he hath brought it near before Jehovah, and hath made atonement for her, and she hath been cleansed from the fountain of her blood. This is the law of her who is bearing, in regard to a male or to a female. And if her hand find not the sufficiency of a sheep, then she hath taken 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, one for a burnt offering, and one for a sin offering, and the priest hath made atonement for her, and she hath been cleansed. Chapter 13. And Jehovah speaketh unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, When a man hath in the skin of his flesh a rising or scab or bright spot, and it hath become in the skin of his flesh a leprous plague, then he hath been brought in unto Aaron the priest, or unto one of his sons the priests. And the priest hath seen the plague in the skin of the flesh, and the hair in the plague hath turned white, and the appearance of the plague is deeper than the skin of his flesh. It is a plague of leprosy, and the priest hath seen him, and hath pronounced him unclean. And if the bright spot is white in the skin of his flesh, and its appearance is not deeper than the skin, and its hair hath not turned white, then hath the priest shut up him who hath the plague 7 days. And the priest hath seen him on the 7th day, and lo, the plague hath stood in his eyes, the plague hath not spread in the skin, and the priest hath shut him up a second 7 days. And the priest hath seen him on the 2nd 7th day, and lo, the plague is become weak, and the plague hath not spread in the skin. And the priest hath pronounced him clean. It is a scab, and he hath washed his garments, and hath been clean. And if the scab spread greatly in the skin, after his being seen by the priest for his cleansing, then he hath been seen a second time by the priest, and the priest hath seen, and lo, the scab hath spread in the skin, and the priest hath pronounced him unclean. It is leprosy. When a plague of leprosy is in a man, then he hath been brought in unto the priest, and the priest hath seen, and lo, a white rising in the skin, and it hath turned the hair white, and a quickening of raw flesh is in the rising. An old leprosy it is in the skin of his flesh, and the priest hath pronounced him unclean. He doth not shut him up, for he is unclean. And if the leprosy break out greatly in the skin, and the leprosy hath covered all the skin of him who hath the plague, from his head even unto his feet, to all that appeareth to the eyes of the priest, then hath the priest seen, and lo, the leprosy hath covered all his flesh, and he hath pronounced him who hath the plague clean. It hath all turned white. He is clean. And in the day of raw flesh being seen in him, he is unclean. And the priest hath seen the raw flesh, and hath pronounced him unclean. The raw flesh is unclean. It is leprosy. Or when the raw flesh turneth back, and hath been turned to white, then he hath come in unto the priest, and the priest hath seen him, and lo, the plague hath been turned to white, and the priest hath pronounced clean him who hath the plague. He is clean. And when flesh hath in its skin, an ulcer, and it hath been healed, and there hath been in the place of the ulcer a white rising, or a bright white spot, very red, then it hath been seen by the priest, and the priest hath seen, and lo, its appearance is lower than the skin, and its hair hath turned white, and the priest hath pronounced him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy. In an ulcer it hath broken out. And if the priest see it, and lo, there is no white hair in it, and it is not lower than the skin, and is become weak, Then hath the priest shut him up 7 days. And if it spread greatly in the skin, then hath the priest pronounced him unclean. It is a plague. And if in its place the bright spot stay, it hath not spread. It is an inflammation of the ulcer, and the priest hath pronounced him clean. Or when flesh hath in its skin a fiery burning, and the quickening of the burning, the bright white spot, hath been very red or white, and the priest hath seen it, and lo, the hair hath turned white in the bright spot, and its appearance is deeper than the skin, leprosy it is, in the burning it hath broken out, and the priest hath pronounced him unclean, it is a plague of leprosy. And if the priest see it, and lo, there is no white hair on the bright spot, and it is not lower than the skin, and it is become weak, then the priest hath shut him up 7 days. And the priest hath seen him on the 7th day. If it spread greatly in the skin, then the priest hath pronounced him unclean, a plague of leprosy it is. And if the bright spot stay in its place, it hath not spread in the skin, and is become weak, a rising of the burning it is, and the priest hath pronounced him clean, for it is inflammation of the burning. And when a man or a woman hath in him a plague in the head or in the beard, then hath the priest seen the plague, and lo, its appearance is deeper than the skin, and in it a thin shining hair, and the priest hath pronounced him unclean, it is a scall, it is a leprosy of the head or of the beard. And when the priest seeth the plague of the scall, and lo, its appearance is not deeper than the skin, and there is no black hair in it, then hath the priest shut up him who hath the plague of the scall 7 days. And the priest hath seen the plague on the 7th day, and lo, the scall hath not spread, and a shining hair hath not been in it, and the appearance of the scall is not deeper than the skin. Then he hath shaved himself, but the scall he doth not shave. And the priest hath shut up him who hath the scall a second 7 days. And the priest hath seen the scall on the 7th day, and lo, the scall hath not spread in the skin, and its appearance is not deeper than the skin. And the priest hath pronounced him clean, and he hath washed his garments, and hath been clean. And if the scall spread greatly in the skin after his cleansing, and the priest hath seen him, and lo, the scall hath spread in the skin, the priest seeketh not for the shining hair, he is unclean. And if in his eyes the scall hath stayed, and black hair hath sprung up in it, the scall hath been healed, he is clean, and the priest hath pronounced him clean. And when a man or woman hath in the skin of their flesh bright spots, white bright spots, and the priest hath seen, and lo, in the skin of their flesh white, weak, bright spots, it is a freckled spot broken out in the skin, he is clean. And when a man's head is polished, he is bald, he is clean. And if from the corner of his face his head is polished, he is bald of the forehead, he is clean. And when there is in the bald back of the head, or in the bald forehead, a very red white plague, it is a leprosy breaking out in the bald back of the head, or in the bald forehead. And the priest hath seen him, and lo, the rising of the very red white plague in the bald back of the head, or in the bald forehead, is as the appearance of leprosy in the skin of the flesh. He is a leprous man, he is unclean. The priest doth pronounce him utterly unclean, his plague is in his head. As to the leper in whom is the plague, his garments are rent, and his head is uncovered, and he covereth over the upper lip, and Unclean, unclean, he calleth. All the days that the plague is in him he is unclean. He is unclean, alone he doth dwell, at the outside of the camp is his dwelling. And when there is in any garment a plague of leprosy, in a garment of wool, or in a garment of linen, or in the warp, or in the woof, of linen or of wool, or in a skin, or in any work of skin, and the plague hath been very green or very red in the garment, or in the skin, or in the warp, or in the woof, or in any vessel of skin, it is a plague of leprosy, and it hath been shewn the priest. And the priest hath seen the plague, and hath shut up that which hath the plague 7 days. And he hath seen the plague on the 7th day, and the plague hath spread in the garment, or in the warp, or in the woof, or in the skin, of all that is made of skin for work. The plague is a fretting leprosy, it is unclean. And he hath burnt the garment, or the warp, or the woof, in wool or in linen, or any vessel of skin in which the plague is, for it is a fretting leprosy, with fire it is burnt. And if the priest see, and lo, the plague hath not spread in the garment, or in the warp, or in the woof, or in any vessel of skin, then hath the priest commanded, and they have washed that in which the plague is, and he hath shut it up a second 7 days. And the priest hath seen that which hath the plague after it hath been washed, and lo, the plague hath not changed its aspect, and the plague hath not spread. It is unclean. With fire thou dost burn it. It is a fretting in its back part or in its front part. And if the priest hath seen, and lo, the plague is become weak after it hath been washed, then he hath rent it out of the garment, or out of the skin, or out of the warp, or out of the woof. And if it still be seen in the garment, or in the warp, or in the woof, or in any vessel of skin, it is a fretting. With fire thou dost burn it, that in which the plague is. And the garment, or the warp, or the woof, or any vessel of skin which thou dost wash when the plague hath turned aside from them, then it hath been washed a second time, and hath been clean. This is the law of a plague of leprosy in a garment of wool or of linen, or of the warp, or of the woof, or of any vessel of skin, to pronounce it clean, or to pronounce it unclean. Chapter 14. And Jehovah speaketh unto Moses, saying, This is a law of the leper in the day of his cleansing, that he hath been brought in unto the priest, and the priest hath gone out unto the outside of the camp, and the priest hath seen, and lo, the plague of leprosy hath ceased from the leper, and the priest hath commanded, and he hath taken for him who is to be cleansed 2 clean living birds, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop. And the priest hath commanded, and he hath slaughtered 1 bird upon an earthen vessel over running water. As to the living bird, he taketh it, and the cedar wood, and the scarlet, and the hyssop, and hath dipped them and the living bird in the blood of the slaughtered bird over the running water. And he hath sprinkled on him who is to be cleansed from the leprosy 7 times, and hath pronounced him clean, and hath sent out the living bird on the face of the field. And he who is to be cleansed hath washed his garments, and hath shaved all his hair, and hath bathed with water, and hath been clean. And afterwards he doth come in unto the camp, and hath dwelt at the outside of his tent 7 days. And it hath been on the 7th day, he shaveth all his hair, his head, and his beard, and his eyebrows, even all his hair he doth shave. And he hath washed his garments, and hath bathed his flesh with water, and hath been clean. And on the 8th day he taketh 2 lambs, perfect ones, and 1 ewe lamb, daughter of a year, a perfect one, and 3/10 deals of flour for a present, mixed with oil, and 1 log of oil. And the priest who is cleansing hath caused the man who is to be cleansed to stand with them before Jehovah at the opening of the tent of meeting. And the priest hath taken the 1 he lamb, and hath brought it near for a guilt offering, also the log of oil, and hath waved them, a wave offering before Jehovah. And he hath slaughtered the lamb in the place where he slaughtereth the sin offering and the burnt offering, in the holy place. For like the sin offering, the guilt offering is to the priest. It is most holy. And the priest hath taken of the blood of the guilt offering, and the priest hath put on the tip of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the great toe of his right foot. And the priest hath taken of the log of oil, and hath poured on the left palm of the priest. And the priest hath dipped his right finger in the oil which is on his left palm, and hath sprinkled of the oil with his finger 7 times before Jehovah. And of the residue of the oil which is on his palm, the priest putteth on the tip of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the great toe of his right foot, on the blood of the guilt offering. And the remnant of the oil which is on the palm of the priest he putteth on the head of him who is to be cleansed, and the priest hath made atonement for him before Jehovah. And the priest hath made the sin offering, and hath made atonement for him who is to be cleansed from his uncleanness, and afterwards he doth slaughter the burnt offering, and the priest hath caused the burnt offering to ascend, also the present, on the altar, and the priest hath made atonement for him, and he hath been clean. And if he is poor, and his hand is not reaching these things, then he hath taken 1 lamb, a guilt offering, for a wave offering, to make atonement for him, and 1/10 deal of flour mixed with oil for a present, and a log of oil, and 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, which his hand reacheth to, and 1 hath been a sin offering, and the one a burnt offering. And he hath brought them in on the 8th day for his cleansing unto the priest, unto the opening of the tent of meeting, before Jehovah. And the priest hath taken the lamb of the guilt offering, and the log of oil, and the priest hath waved them, a wave offering before Jehovah. And he hath slaughtered the lamb of the guilt offering, and the priest hath taken of the blood of the guilt offering, and hath put on the tip of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the great toe of his right foot. And the priest doth pour of the oil on the left palm of the priest, and the priest hath sprinkled with his right finger of the oil which is on his left palm 7 times before Jehovah. And the priest hath put of the oil which is on his palm on the tip of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the great toe of his right foot, on the place of the blood of the guilt offering. And the remnant of the oil which is on the palm of the priest he doth put on the head of him who is to be cleansed, to make atonement for him before Jehovah. And he hath made the one of the turtle doves, or of the young pigeons, from that which his hand reacheth to, even that which his hand reacheth to, the one a sin offering, and the one a burnt offering, besides the present. And the priest hath made atonement for him who is to be cleansed before Jehovah. This is a law of him in whom is a plague of leprosy, whose hand reacheth not to his cleansing. And Jehovah speaketh unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, When ye come in unto the land of Canaan, which I am giving to you for a possession, and I have put a plague of leprosy in a house in the land of your possession, then hath he whose the house is come in and declared to the priest, saying, As a plague hath appeared to me in the house. And the priest hath commanded, and they have prepared the house before the priest cometh in to see the plague, that all which is in the house be not unclean. And afterwards doth the priest come in to see the house, and he hath seen the plague, and lo, the plague is in the walls of the house, hollow strakes, very green or very red, and their appearance is lower than the wall. And the priest hath gone out of the house unto the opening of the house, and hath shut up the house 7 days. And the priest hath turned back on the 7th day, and hath seen, and lo, the plague hath spread in the walls of the house, and the priest hath commanded, and they have drawn out the stones in which the plague is, and have cast them unto the outside of the city, unto an unclean place. And the house he doth cause to be scraped within round about, and they have poured out the clay which they have scraped off at the outside of the city at an unclean place. And they have taken other stones, and brought them in unto the place of the stones, and other clay he taketh and hath daubed the house. And if the plague return, and hath broken out in the house, after he hath drawn out the stones, and after the scraping of the house, and after the daubing, then hath the priest come in and seen, and lo, the plague hath spread in the house, it is a fretting leprosy in the house, it is unclean. And he hath broken down the house, its stones, and its wood, and all the clay of the house, and he hath brought them forth unto the outside of the city, unto an unclean place. And he who is going in unto the house all the days he hath shut it up, is unclean till the evening. And he who is lying in the house doth wash his garments, and he who is eating in the house doth wash his garments. And if the priest certainly come in, and hath seen, and lo, the plague hath not spread in the house after the daubing of the house, then hath the priest pronounced the house clean, for the plague hath been healed. And he hath taken for the cleansing of the house 2 birds, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop. And he hath slaughtered the one bird upon an earthen vessel over running water. And he hath taken the cedar wood, and the hyssop, and the scarlet, and the living bird, and hath dipped them in the blood of the slaughtered bird, and in the running water, and hath sprinkled upon the house 7 times. And he hath cleansed the house with the blood of the bird, and with the running water, and with the living bird, and with the cedar wood, and with the hyssop, and with the scarlet. And he hath sent away the living bird unto the outside of the city, unto the face of the field, and hath made atonement for the house, and it hath been clean. This is the law for every plague of the leprosy, and for scall, and for leprosy of a garment, and of a house, and for a rising, and for a scab, and for a bright spot, to direct in the day of being unclean, and in the day of being clean. This is the law of the leprosy. The end of chapters 8 through 14. Recording by Mark Penfold.